What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Sunday Open. I'm your host, Nick, with a very, very special guest this evening. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Nick. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you back on NT Live, hanging out with me. And I get the pleasure of, I guess, kind of welcoming you back and having you on tonight's show. I'm actually thrilled. This was a really cool idea when they threw it out to me. I was like, absolutely. That should be a lot of fun. So it's good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here. And I also love streaming with another trader and kind of learning your ways as well. So that's always fun and exciting. And I look forward to seeing what kind of you do and how you do your prep work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we're gonna dive in. Last week was kind of a fun, crazy, chaotic week. We actually saw a little bit of a sell in equities at times. So this should be an interesting week to kind of prep for. But before we really dive in, I mean, Sarah, when it comes to kind of looking at the week ahead, prepping, getting organized for your trading week, is there anything specific or anything weird that you do that's a little more unique? Just curious.
I wouldn't say weird. So I am a Strat trader. So we look for Strat setups. And basically with the market being at all-time highs, like every week lately, there's not been a lot of weekly setups. So we kind of trade more day to day until we can get like some sort of significant pullback on the weekly chart. And then we always, of course, focus on the economic calendar. We look for red folder news. Like Monday will probably be pretty boring because there's no news and we're set to open pretty inside last week's range. So I don't expect a lot for futures. Well, that could change. And we'll get into that when I start sharing my charts later. But we've got some inside day setups for tomorrow. So that is something that we look for. And we'll talk about that, later when I share my charts. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, chat, it's good to have everybody here. I hope everyone has had a wonderful weekend. A lovely, sad day for, I guess, us Americans when it comes to the Ryder Cup coming to an end here with the Europeans beating us, as well as this lovely NFL Sunday. So thank you everybody for hanging out with us. What we're going to jump into some light prep here. If you've never seen tonight or never seen the Sunday Open, what we basically do is I typically will dive into a light prep for ES, NQ, CL, and GC. Maybe even throw a little YM if I'm feeling dangerous on a Sunday night. But for the most part, we'll cover those big four, look at the economic calendar, earnings, if there is anything relevant. This is one of those weeks where there's really not a lot on the earnings docket with the exception of Nike's earnings, I think Tuesday after the bell. So we're not even going to go over those because it's pretty light, pretty basic there. But how did we all handle last week? This was the first week in recent memory that it seemed like we actually retraced in some capacity of the structure that was being built. And really all ES did, more or less, was have an inside week with a new all-time high to kind of kick us off. But us kind of falling back into range, at least in the range from the previous week, was a tape that I was really having fun executing on and trading. Something I've been looking forward to and hoping for, I would say, for the last few weeks. If you've seen this show, if you've seen me trade, I'm just at times a terrible trader when it comes to us in true price discovery mode with no structure, no volume, and us just continuing to make new highs, new higher highs. So I've had my licks throughout this summer and into the early parts of this fall with us continuing to kind of just make a new all-time high. It seems like almost every single week. So this was a welcome sign of us kind of cooling off a little bit, retracing some and giving us some structure to at least trade off of. That is a good amount of ways that I kind of look at trading and actually try to take trades. Is going to be off volume structure that's been built in the past and that I can lean against and lean into when we have, rebids or reoffers coming into this market. So Sarah, how did you really look at last week? It was like really that first kind of cool off from the, new all-time high almost every single day, it seems.
We had a great time shorting the inside bars at the all-time highs. That's something that we look for. We call it an all-time high exhaustion reversal. But we didn't really do any damage to the longer term participants. And I hope that we do. We need to stop some people out before going higher would be my preferred, route. So I would prefer that we go down before we go up. But where we sit, like right now at the open, it looks like they're going to try and go up before they go down, which just means, volatility will keep dropping off and I'll keep being bored.
That's been the theme of this summer. It seems like you get like that little kiss of volatility and then somebody decides to just sell it and we get back into slow death grinds to the upside, and everyone's miserable except in their long-term portfolios. So
it feels like summer
traders environment.
It feels like summer will never end, like summer trading, because we're just up here, but that's just how it is sometimes. And we have to be patient, and we'll get, opportunity whenever the volatility comes back, and we'll be ready for it when it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess looking at you had this, looking at last week's structure, more or less, like you had all of these kind of little small distributions up at the all-time high, back at last week's value area high, sitting here between 63. Gosh, this is already going to be a long Sunday. I can tell 67.20s, basically sitting at last week's value area high, where we just had little legs of consolidation almost in the overnight kind of. And then somebody steps in like off the bell and sells us lower. And then we kind of get another chance. And then it seems like every morning I was kind of waking up to a little bit of violence from our friends across the Atlantic during the overnight session. And then naturally the US buyers just finding a reason to buy the dip as they continue to do. So looking at this week, I'm going to be, I guess where we're trading right now, kind of this 6,700 spot on ES is going to be relatively telling if we can kind of hold or find buyers continuing to initiate above this spot, which would basically be 2 weeks ago's value area high as well. And basically where this little LVN is from the previous week. If we get a build above this, then I would say there's a good chance we may go make another new all-time high this week. If sellers step back in and kind of reoffer in this area, I would expect us to, at the very least, go take out the FOMC low down towards 6,600s. I was actually kind of shocked we didn't take that out last week, Sarah, especially with kind of some of that violence on Thursday. I was watching that level as ES was kind of making the lows when we were doing the four-way challenge on NT Live in the afternoon, and I was kind of like horrified catching the knife. I mean, I know it was sim account and we're having fun and we're trying to just, get as much money as we can in the arena challenge, but something about catching the knife down here with that little low from FOMC sitting about 10 points lower just scared me inside. Even though the money was not real in the account, I still was kind of like closing my eyes and pressing buy down there at 66.20s. So what do you think there? I guess we can go to Sara's charts too, so she can actually articulate what she's seeing in the S&Ps.
So yeah, I would have felt uncomfortable catching the knife there too. Did you say you wanted me to switch to my chart?
Yeah. Kevin, do you want to switch to Sarah's chart so she can actually talk about what she's looking at?
There we go. No, you're exactly right. I wouldn't have personally felt comfortable going long there. I also would have wanted that 66.11 taken out. And that again goes back to me saying that we haven't stopped anybody out yet. So anybody who's been in long term, that's where their stops are. That's the last pivot low. So that's where their stops are. So in the strat, we look to stop people out and then play the other way. So when we came down this day, in a perfect world, we would have taken this level out and then came back into the range and retraced back up. We're all about broadening formations in the strat. So that is kind of like the theme that we want to see. Now, we will still trade if that doesn't happen based on other actionable signals. And for instance, like right now, we have an inside day on ES and an inside day on NQ. And if they both break to the upside, and RTY, inside days. So if they all three break to the upside, that is what we call a simultaneous break, which means, 3 out of the 4 major futures are doing the same thing at the same time, which gives us more evidence to take the trade and take the long. And then if we keep going, then we would expect new all-time highs this week. But the thing it kind of is if you go to the weekly charts, we're opening pretty much dead center. So these are the weekly candles. We're opening dead center in between last week's range. And something that we always say is, how are we going to get out of this range? And, you know, it's important that we do get out of the range and we try and stay out, because you don't want to get stuck in here. That's when things get really choppy. And then you're just stuck in that last week's range and things aren't going to move, and you're going to chop yourself up. It's going to be terrible. But the way things are opening and with things triggering their inside day to the upside, coming into Monday, it's more likely that we're going to break to new all-time highs this week. But again, we've got red folder news on every day except Monday. So we're going to play it day by day. Things can change every single day. We will play our reversals. We know if things are going up, and we know if they're reversing, and we will play it that way. We're not going to get married to anything because we're stuck currently inside last week's range, and we'll do our best. And we also trade stocks, you know, where I'm at. So if there's nothing going on in the futures, we always have stocks to fall back on, which is nice.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting too with if they actually do push forward like the pattern day trading rule, like below 25,000 that we were seeing being floated, where I think a lot of smaller accounts, retail traders may not necessarily move out of futures, but it gives maybe more opportunities when we have summers like this, where maybe you know, equity futures is not the best place to spend your time. So that'll be interesting as that evolves as well. I think for a lot of smaller traders out there, that was good to see. I always hated that rule for, you know, the average person that doesn't have, let's say, 30 plus grand to just open up a brokerage account at times. So good to see that, them potentially doing that. But yeah, this is, you know, opening us basically in the last 2 weeks of value, 2 weeks of balance. I'm kind of in, you know, the same boat as you, where I'd love to be optimistic for potentially some more volatility, some more downside. But, you know, given where we're opening, if we continue to see buyers stepping in, I mean, why wouldn't we just why not go make another all-time high and just continue? The party goes on, basically. Why not?
Yeah. And if you look at the VIX, it's set up, well, I mean, typically it goes down, but it is set up for downside. We closed red, and we're a lot closer to going 2 up, 2 down week. So kind of the candle that would print this week, we would expect it to look like this, or like this, or even like this. And that would just keep grinding us into the all-time highs, which as we sit right now, looks like that's where we're going. So I would expect the VIX to continue to puke, you know, this coming week. Unless there's some really bad news on one of the red folder days, then that can change. And that's why we keep saying you got to be nimble and trade the charts. Don't get too, you know, complacent or stuck in your bias. You know, like I said, we're taking it day by day. We'll trade reversals. We will trade in the direction of full time frame continuity. And that's that. Oh, also really important thing to mention is Wednesday is October 1st. So we are going to start a new month and a new quarter. Mm-hmm. And if you're a strat trader, that is a big deal to us because it can change time frame continuity. And what I mean by that is, so this month, this is the monthly chart. So we've been long since way back, well, below there, but the monthly long was right here, and it's still good. So anytime we get a new monthly candle, that can change continuity. And continuity is simply what color is the candle, if it's green or if it's red. Because if things are going to change and start to come back down and in, it's going to start by being a red monthly candle. And then maybe, I mean, I'm hoping for, I don't want to say a crash, but
a correction.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can at least get a reversal on the monthly time frame and start to kind of come back down a bit, just for some volatility and some re-entries, because it's really hard to enter, you know, or add up here at the all-time highs. You know, we had a good little run in here to new all-time highs, and I loaded up my IRAs, and now I'm out and just waiting for, another opportunity to get in. But so new month, new quarter, new signals, big deal for the strat world. Do you take any of that into account? Like new candles, Nick?
Not with really the way that I would say execute as far as day trades. Like for me, it's more so, knowing that, end of month, end of quarter, you get the rebalancing, you get certain things that can kind of move the market, affect the market in different ways. I'm more just aware of it. But as far as how we open and what that looks like, I mean, my time horizon at times as a futures trader, like intraday is really, could be 30 seconds at a time. So for me, I focus much more on like, what is the DOM telling me in real time? What is order flow really saying? What is volume at, this specific low showing me in real time that I can execute on? So I try not to get too in the weeds, but I always think for longer term stuff, it is important to at least have your eye on things like that. But intraday scalping, nah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, so far, ES opening, above settlement from last Friday, excuse me. And so far just being straight bid a little bit to the upside, at least NQ is, but coming in basically around previous day high for both of them. So we'll see if we get any sort of reaction up there, if we do reject or if buyers just continue to take us higher and kind of set us up for that March to another all-time high. If we want to roll back to my charts, we can take a quick peek at NQ. So NQ telling a very similar story to ES as far as the previous week's structure. Actually, what's funny, Sarah, I don't know if you noticed this. It felt like ES at times, like during some of these moves to the downside, it felt weaker. It felt more violent a little bit to the downside, especially on Thursday. It seemed like ES was kind of leading a little more. And ES had actually made another new low from that volatile day on Thursday where NQ kind of stepped in, buyers scooped right up and kind of bought that low before we were able to actually make a new low on the session, which was interesting to me. Finally kind of seeing ES, I guess, take the lead versus what it was kind of doing most of the summer, which felt like just pulling NQ up by the collar to make another new all-time high. So it was interesting to see that.
Yeah, that's why I watch all four futures at the same time. I look for correlations. I look for divergences, which one's stronger, which one's weaker, which do I want to play, which do I not want to play at all. It's all important to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, that happens a lot. Like one will be, weaker, one will be stronger. And if we're in the bullish, environment, you obviously want to play the stronger one. Helps your position. I just really want to see ES trigger the inside day up and then RTY, and then we can get going. Because so far NQ is the only one that's done it. I'm pretty sure ES and RTY are about to do it. And then I had the targets marked on my chart, but it's just previous day's highs is the target.
Yeah, we're making the run up to them right now. ES about 2 points away, or I guess 7 ticks technically, but making the march up there. NQ looks like it's about to go pierce above the previous day high. So we'll keep watching and see what happens there. But as far as on the week, and this is going to be an interesting spot that I'm going to be watching probably as my, the week opens right there, but basically this spot, the top of this little, 2-week balance that we've been sitting in, but it's also a nice little LVN from last week. This 750s to 800 spot on NQ is kind of where I'd be gauging for a reaction. Is our sellers still going to be present in this market to start the week? Like, do we find anyone larger or long time frame player potentially reoffering in this spot? If we don't, then yeah, absolutely. We are off to the races, new all-time high. Everyone gets to go party, but I'm kind of just cautiously flat in this area, just waiting and watching for the coming week. Otherwise, I think if we do get that reoffer, we probably will go take out the FOMC low and maybe make a run at some of these areas a tad lower, down towards 24,200s maybe. But seeing us kind of shake this off and rebid again on the early parts of Friday's session after that kind of little violent move off the open and then kind of balance from the rest of the day. I didn't trade Friday. I kind of just watched it via mobile, but NQ was just kind of chaotic to watch us sell off 150 points like right off the open and then immediately rebid and then it sold off again. And yeah, just was kind of
smart of you not to trade on Friday because you were an inside day all day, so things really weren't moving too much.
Yep.
So yeah.
I decided basically after trading and being on stream all day Thursday that it's just it may be in my best interest just to take a day, kind of relax and not put a ton of capital at risk. So that's what I decided to do, was just sit back and try again another time. So just kind of ran some errands, did other stuff. But I think that's always good to do as a trader, is just take a step back, and you don't need to trade every single session, especially if you were, you had a good session, bad session, whatever it is. Sometimes it's beneficial for us to walk away. So Sarah, you had said, the setup you were seeing on, ES, NQ was relatively the same, kind of waiting for them to, I guess you said, trigger your strat if it got over previous day high?
Yes. And ES hit the Friday's high exactly. We need it to break by 1 tick. So we need to hit 67.04. And RTY came really close to, they'll trigger. I promise they'll trigger. It's just, do we continue? We would like to see them continue, and at least to get up to their targets. And like I said earlier, NQ is the strongest one because it triggered first. So once we get ES and RTY to do it, then it's kind of like go time. And they're almost there.
Interesting.
And I've got some other little intermediate levels on the chart. So NQ.
Come to Sarah's charts.
Yep. So NQ, I'll make this big for you guys. This is the daily trigger, that white line. And we got a little pivot high here, pivot high here. So if ES and RTY can trigger, I think we can get to here fairly easily on NQ, which would be, if you took the daily trigger, 46 points. But like I said, we got to see. So ES came within so Friday's high was 67.0375, and that's exactly what we hit just now. So we need to see that break. So if anybody was short using this pivot as their stop, they're about to get taken out. So it'll be shorts covering and then natural buyers stepping in, which should propel the price up. Same with RTY. People think they're safe with this double top, but it should break. And then anybody who has their stops up there will get taken out if they were short. And then again, with natural buyers and a simultaneous break on 3 out of the 4, should be pretty good.
So is that something you would initiate off of, or do you kind of wait for like a second attempt around that spot?
Well, so for instance, we use multiple time frame analysis. So this is an inside bar on the 60-minute. You could even take this as an entry, anticipating you would trigger the inside day and up. So this is what we call a domino trade, where the lower time frames can trigger the higher time frames. So you could be in, like, for example, this one now, anticipating it trigger the day. And then so instead of entering at Friday's high, you're actually in a little bit lower and you have a little bit more of a cushion. And you can keep going down time frames. Like this is called a rev strat, an inside bar, 2 down, 2 up. So this gave you also a 30-minute entry to potentially trigger the day if you wanted to do that. We can go down to the 15. Right here, 2 down, 2 up. That was another entry that you could have taken to anticipate triggering the day. So you could be in as early as here And then by now you've already hit your first target on the 15-minute. So now your stop would be break even. And then you just want to see if it's going to trigger the day. So, whoops, wrong one. I kind of like to do stuff like this. So enter here. Once you hit your target, that's when you can move your stop to break even. This is better than a 25-to-1, I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Because my stop is not technically at break even. I don't know why it's not, but it won't let me go up anymore. So something like that in order to trigger the day. And then you can take partials at the daily trigger, and then you can hold for higher targets. And these are all strat setups. So
yeah, I'm not as familiar. So I appreciate you kind of walking me through that. That is helpful. I'm always curious how other traders kind of, navigate different ideas, different strategies, because even though we're potentially looking at like similar information, it's always interesting just to kind of hear that perspective or another way of kind of interpreting the same piece of data that we're looking at. So
yeah, I'm trying to find our sheet. So if you're unfamiliar with the strat, I can just give you a quick like overview. I'm trying to pull this up so it looks nice.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
So the strat, it's just a very, very simple way of knowing what price action is doing. And there is only 3 candle types that, well, technically 4. So we have an inside bar, which we call a 1. We have an outside bar, which is an engulfing bar, which we call a 3. And then we have 2s, which are directional bars. And we have 2 kinds of 2s. So you have a 2 up or a 2 down. And since there's only technically 3 candle types, there's only a certain amount. Sorry, my eye is itching. There's only a certain amount of ways that price can continue or can reverse. And we call these our strat setups. And so again, an inside bar fits completely inside the range of the previous candle. An outside bar takes out both sides of the previous candle. And then you have a 2 up. So this is a 2 up because it broke the upside only of the previous candle. And this would be a 2 down because it broke only the downside of the previous candle. And then you can have your stops as tight as, so your entry would be here on a 2 up, 2 down reversal. That's your target, the green line. And your stop can be this tight. So just like eyeballing this is probably like a 3-to-1. And that's kind of what we do because this is all there really is. This is the only ways that price can actually reverse or continue. And they're basically inside bar breaks, 2-2 reversals, and 1 bar rev strats ultimately. And yeah, so I just put out my newest free course on YouTube. If you want to watch that, it's pretty short and sweet, but it gives you a really great breakdown of what the strat is, how we use it, and all the different principles. So we use the scenarios, time frame continuity. So having multiple different time frames in alignment or being the same color. So like the monthly candle being green, the weekly candle being green, the daily being green, and like the 60 being green. So we call that full time frame continuity. And then broadening formations, which if you follow me on Twitter, it's all we talk about is broadening formations. And earlier on, it's why I said to Nick that I wouldn't have wanted to take that knife, falling knife either, because I would have wanted them to take out the lows first and then reversed.
Yep. That's one of those where it's like, I mean, I have some confidence as an order flow trader to at least take the stab because I'm seeing buyers really initiating in real time and at least feeling like, okay, there's other people in this potentially terrible room with me that we're all about to die together. So at least I have some friends that are about to just get absolutely stopped out and ran over, potentially trying that. So, it gives you that at least somewhat confidence that there's other people attempting. And if more people join in, then you get that full reversal like we saw, I think, into the close on Friday, where we were just kind of moving on all the way back up to the top of the range from the session. So it worked out. It doesn't normally, especially when we're falling like that to the downside. So yeah, when you see a structure like that on Thursday, like that's not necessarily the most constructive way to try to buy a dip, but hey, it worked out. I beat the other three, and we had some fun. So
now, like conversely, like RTY and YM did take out their stops. So they did take out their pivot lows. So I would have been more comfortable taking this because you just stopped out all the long traders, because once we made a new high, trend traders, they're going to put their stops there. So they all got shook out this day, right? So now you've got an inside day, a 212. If we go back to here, what we have setting up on pretty much all of the futures except YM is this setup here. It's a 212 reversal. And like, look at it. It's exactly what you see. You see, it doesn't have to be red, but it's a 2 down. It's a 2 down inside. We're looking for a 2 up. So red, green, more green we're looking for. And that's basically, like, there is like only these amount of things that can happen. So, it makes it very easy to trade the strat. Man, I wish they would just hurry up and trigger the day so we could get like a simultaneous just. And yeah, YM here. That's where their stops were. So they also got taken out this day, and then they did a 2 down, 2 up reversal on Friday. So that would have been the daily entry. Now there would have been lower time frame entries in here to get long if you wanted to. And we do that a lot when we're at some form of exhaustion risk. So like, had we taken out this low on Thursday, we would have looked to like the 30, the 15 minute, the 30, or the 60 for a reversal back up into full time frame continuity, back with all time frames being green. But yeah, we like to stop them out and then we buy. So stop out the longs, then we buy. And we'll short it on the way down too. So short on the way down, stop them out, and then we'll get long again. So we don't care which direction we're playing as long as we're on the winning side of it and playing with, the direction that it's going. I personally am a bear. I prefer to play to the downside.
I oddly enough am too. Running my statistics over the last year, looked at basically I play 60-40 from the short side apparently, which is I think a little much. I would love that to be a little more at equilibrium, but especially at a year like this, especially looking at the last 12 months and being like, you played 60-40 and you've made money. Good God, sir. Like that's crazy. You clearly are timing your entries well. But yeah, sometimes I think it's just the speed of the tape. Like if I take some sells like off the, in the first hour, I don't think that's that weird, because sometimes you're seeing both sides of that volatility off the open kind of come into play. So it's like, I'm just kind of watching and am able to take trades that way. But yeah, it's odd when you kind of look at the data and you're like, oh, I guess I really do play a little more to the short side.
Well, that's okay. That's awesome. That even in a bullish environment, you're able to make money on the downside. I mean, there's
been some painful moments, but yeah. You ever, because you're doing that, you get those really dumb stop outs where I feel like I just enter and then suddenly within like 30 seconds I'm stopped out, and it's like, God, what am I doing? Like, what if I just didn't press the button, or if I went the other way, it literally would have never moved against me, because you have those, I guess, trades to the short side where it feels like it never moves a single tick in your favor for some reason. But hey, we're still all learning and getting better at this game. So I noticed you have like all 4 of the I guess the major indexes there. Do you have one that you favor to look for trades and opportunities in, or do you kind of just wait for which one is setting up and you kind of trade off that?
It just kind of depends on, usually RTY and YM are pretty synced up, and then ES and NQ are pretty synced up.
Mm-hmm.
I typically don't trade RTY and YM very much, but I do still like to watch them just because it just gives me more information. And I do sometimes trade RTY. I really don't trade YM, but I still like to see the, I can't think of the word. What's the word? The correlation. I like to see that, yeah, between them. And it just depends. So like I mentioned earlier, like NQ is obviously the stronger one because it already took out Friday's high. We're just really waiting for ES to do it so NQ can get moving. But maybe everybody is just pissed off about losing the Ryder Cup by 1 point and they're out drinking and nobody's trading.
I mean, it's very possible. You kind of laugh at some of these NFL Sundays, at least in the US markets. And yeah, obviously a weekend like this with the Ryder Cup, it's like, how many people are actually sitting here trading? Is it just 7 computers and apparently you and I sitting here actually watching these markets today? And obviously everybody hanging out with us in the chat. We appreciate you all being here as always. But yeah, this is one of those like slow Sundays in fall where we're probably all better off, you know, eating chili and watching the NFL or something instead of staring at these so far. But we'll see how it shakes out. Now, Sara, outside of the indexes, do you trade commodities at all?
No.
No. So not a big crude or gold trader.
No.
Yeah,
no, really no reason. I just I don't know. The thing that I like the most about futures is you don't have to focus on very many things. So I choose to just focus on these 4. Ooh, I think we're going to trigger the day here with this little baby broadening formation. But yeah, I like how I don't have to focus on that many things. So I just limit my futures trading to these 4 things. There's so much for me to trade already that I don't feel the need to go out and trade gold and silver and oil and natural gas and hogs. And like, I just like the simplicity of futures. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, I also trade stocks and options. And lately I've been doing that more than futures because there's just more movement lately in the stocks. Like we traded HIMS on Friday. Last week we traded NVIDIA all the way up to the new all-time high. That was awesome. So there's just been more volatility in stocks. So I have plenty of options already to choose from. So I just, like I said, stick to these guys. Come on, ES, do it. Yeah,
ES currently trading at 67.02 3/4. That, like we said, that previous day high is going to be sitting around 03 3/4. So let's see if we can poke up to 67.04s and potentially trigger this. But yeah, with moments, I always feel like I dabble in other asset classes, but it still I end up just trading ES and NQ like 95% of the time. And then I have weird days where ES and NQ in initial balance are basically like NQ is stuck in a 20-point range, I think on Wednesday morning at one point. And I was actually looking and trading gold to the downside, which was a rare situation that I'm actually trading gold. I feel like twice a year I get in little spurts where it's like could be a week, maybe 2, where I'm suddenly trading gold. I might throw on a swing long in crude oil because I just refuse to ever try to short crude for some reason. I don't know. I'm a weird guy, I guess. But
I'm gonna interrupt you for just 1 second. So ES just triggered the day based on the 5-minute trigger and broadening formation. So just like I was mentioning earlier, how we take lower time frame entries to trigger higher time frame entries. So this is where we would have entered long, trying to trigger the day, which we did trigger the day, but now we need to stay above it. And we want to go start hitting these targets. And NQ did hit its first daily target of 764 exactly. So that's beautiful to see. We like to see that. It's like, people are like, oh, it looks like magic when you look back at it. And people love to call us hindsight traders, which just tickles my heart. It's like, no, it was drawn before the chart played out. Thank you very much.
Let's see. NQ continuing to make a nice move up there. What was that other level I was watching? Oh, I guess it's like 790s. Okay, never mind.
So yeah, now we just need RTY to trigger the day, and we'll have a simultaneous break. Like 3 out of 4 is good enough for me.
Yeah, something in my brain. I mean, I guess I never knew you could actually long RTY. I had only looked to it from the short side, and then I learned Delhi was in like a swing long and for the Russell, and I was kind of laughing and making the same joke that I really only thought you were allowed to short the Russell. I didn't think you could actually be long.
Oh, that's funny.
That's those companies. So there's a I guess a large meta joke there if you don't get it, but yeah, that made me laugh when I was hearing a couple weeks ago he was long RTY, but it worked out for him. There was like that couple day span where I think it was up like 4 or 5%. So.
And then when I can't find closer targets, well, this is not far. This is good. We're good. We really want to break that level and really start stopping people out. And sometimes I feel like if I make the line look different, it'll go to it faster.
There you go.
Stupid trader, like, I don't even know, Matt, like a silly superstition. It usually works though, so I can't complain.
Nick, do you find gold has more range days over trending days? So the few times I do actually trade it, I feel like it's stuck in a range, to be honest. Which is why I end up just miraculously back to trading ES and NQ, because I try to trade other things and then nothing ever happens. And I sit there and think, I've been staring at this range day or this asset class that I usually don't trade for 2 hours, let's say, and it's barely moved. It hasn't stopped me out. It hasn't moved to my first profit target. I haven't taken any off. And meanwhile, I could have scalped NQ 3 times for, let's call it 20, 30 points per contracts, and then called it a day, shut down the desk. So I think that's always what moves me back to NQ at times, is that I have the ability to call it a session potentially in 10 minutes if I happen to get the right setup at the right time, and I can call, as a full-time trader that has a baby, and I'm still kind of full-time dadding at times. Like, I love that autonomy of being able to have a quick session and then just go touch grass and be a dad, work out, do other things. So that's kind of why. But gold, I feel like it had been stuck in the longest range of all time for the last few months, and then finally now breaking up above 3,500s, giving us like a real opportunity to potentially trade like a two-way tape as we kind of are back into price discovery mode in gold. So we'll see. Last week was definitely a more balanced week in GC, but there was a great short off kind of 38.10s if you were patient with the thin volume that kind of bidded it up off Asia and into London. And there was just a great sell that came in kind of off the 30-second opening range that you were kind of able to take if you were just kind of waiting. And we still kind of reoffered from it again on Friday. So I'm going to be watching gold a little bit this week. I really do think there may be another decent trade. It provided a few last week. So I'm going to continue to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to trade it, but I'm going to watch it. Maybe take something if I'm feeling dangerous, as always.
There's been so many inside month entries on gold. Like, So if you see this pinkish line, and again, this is a 212, right? Inside bar and up. You had one here, an inside bar and up, 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 up. And then the strat works so simply. You can just trail on that same time frame. So you can trade it all the way up, and then you can stop out if you get a reversal against you, meaning you break a previous candle's low. So that's a 2 down, right? So if you're like a long-term swing trader.
These are weekly candles? Might have missed you.
These are monthlies.
These are monthlies. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're just like a long-term trader and don't want to like be too active, like here's a swing for you, you know, inside and up, still good, still good, still good, reversed. So get out when November 24 candle opens and goes below October. Then
The November 2024 candle will haunt my dreams. If you've seen my show and you know the way I trade, you know I missed the swing of a lifetime in November of 2024.
Yeah. So no, December actually was another entry. So December, inside and up, 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 up. Well, inside technically, but a higher low, higher low, higher low, another inside and up, add, higher low, higher low. So you, from here, you're still good. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a 6-month swing there with an add 7, 8, 9-month swing.
Yep.
So when this one
does reverse, probably to 4,000.
Oh yeah, probably. So yeah, so protect your profit and then look for a way back in, which was right here. And I guess technically it was in January, the actionable month. So good. The thing about the strat, we do not do price projections. So we don't use fibs or anything like that. Some might. We just say it's still good. So if you go to the weekly chart, we had a weekly entry right back here. This is a 2 down, 2 up reversal, and it's still 2 up, 2 up, 2 up, 2 up. So it's still good. So if you took this entry and you're trailing on the weekly time frame, it's going to look like that, where in from here and you're trailing using the weekly time frame. So 294 points. Just using the weekly time frame. And you can use, the micros, or I don't know how. I think it's so difficult that people trade like the ticker GLD because it's so gappy. I feel like the only way you can actually trade GC, well, me, is to trade with the futures, because the GLD chart is just, or like JNUG, it's so gappy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always, I don't know, I've never traded the other, I guess, ways that you can express opinions in gold. I've just always kind of, I guess, when I first discovered it, it was me trading futures. So
yeah. How long have you traded futures for?
Actively trading it since 2021 is when I was kind of learning, because I had traded options and single stocks and did that very briefly. I have a weird story of how I got into this whole game, Sarah. But yeah, futures for the last 4 or 5 years almost, and still getting better. This is the first thing that like really clicked and kind of made a lot more sense to me. So yeah, it's still my instrument of choice to express trades outside of just buying and holding stocks.
Nice. So just like I was saying, taking a lower time frame. So this is a 60-minute chart, taking a lower time frame entry to trigger the higher time frame entry. So again, we call these domino trades. So you're actually giving yourself not too much of a cushion, but a 1-point cushion instead of entering at the daily trigger. Come on, ES, get the dotted line. 0525, we're two ticks away. We need to break it by 1, so 3 ticks away. And then NQ can keep on going to its pivot high target, which I said I thought would be pretty easy to do if we could get ES and RTY to trigger their day, which both have. Okay, ES hit its first target, which is this pivot high on the 60, which is Thursday's high, I think. Yes. So Thursday's high, and then this and this is from the 60. That's why they're thinner. I use thinner lines for lower time frames, and the daily lines are the thicker ones. They're a 2-point. And you can see NQ has hit that's a 60-minute target, but has not hit its daily target yet, but it should, because now, oh, come on, RTY. 53. We need to break it by 1 tick, and then we'll have the simultaneous break. And then we're going to want to know, because you can take profit or partial profit, well, at all these green lines, depending on your position size. So you could take partial there, and then your break even would be lower, and then take partial there and let it ride, break even. The best position is break even. So we try to get there as fast as we can. So with even RTY, once we trigger the day, you're already in. So you could have a small risk or break even and just see if it wants to go boom. YM just triggered its 212 up on the 60, but this does not have a daily actionable signal. It's just continuation. It would be just trading above Friday's high. But still, they're all trying to go 2 up on the day, which is good. So we got all the things going up at the same time, which is what we like to see. It means the buyers are strong and we're playing with the right team.
Absolutely. It seems like right off the week open, when we were coming on air, it's just been buyers kind of stepping their foot on the gas to start us off this week. So good to see. If you're bullish, if you want a new all-time high, this is exactly what you would hope for out of the gate. But as always, as an intraday trader, for me at the very least, I just am more curious how we kind of open into tomorrow. What am I going to wake up to? Do you trade much of the overnight, Sarah?
No. I don't trade overnight at all. I try to keep a balanced life. I try to only work, certain hours. That's why people are like, do you trade crypto anymore? I do not. I don't want to trade 24/7. I will get so burnt out.
Exactly.
And that's also, again, why I don't look at all the futures. I don't need that much choice. Like there's so much that we can trade already. Like I don't need all the things and all hours of the day.
Yeah, I got enough stress in my life as it is. I don't need to be watching and hoping a position doesn't stop me out or moves back in my favor as I'm trying to grill a steak on Sunday nights when I finish the show. So yeah, as always, I don't usually trade this time of the day. I try not to place a single trade within the hours of the RTH open and RTH close. So everything outside of that is usually a no-no for me. Historically, my stats are like net red between 6 p.m. Eastern time and 7:30. Let's call it 7:30 Eastern. Like when the news comes out, like during that period, I am probably a net red trader historically. It's too slow. It's too illiquid at times. I just have no interest anymore.
Yeah, we have a channel in our Discord. It's called Funded Chat, where all the prop firm traders, you see these guys are up at 3 a.m. and they're up at all hours of the night, like working together. And I'm like, oh my God, guys, go to sleep. Yeah. Go to sleep. There's nothing going on.
I just have no desire anymore. Like when I first was like learning futures, I feel like my eyes were always on a chart and I'm always like trying to find the next trade. And as you mature, as you get more experience, you're like, there is absolutely no need for me to be doing that.
You couldn't have said that anymore. Right. Like it comes with time and, knowing the market. And if it's like an inside day, if SPY or the futures are all inside days, I'm just not trading that day. Whereas like earlier on in my trading career, I would sit there and try and click buttons all day and just get mad and chopped up. And now I'm more than happy to just close the computer and be like, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go swim. I'm going to go lay out. I'm going to go do something else other than sit here and annoy myself. Yeah, just not much volume at all right now.
No.
So they are taking some profit at their first targets. That's what it looks like to me. So ES hit the 67.0525 and they're taking profits, which they should be. That's a good place to do it. That's why that green line is there. Same with NQ. They're taking a little profit at 764. Now, do we get a reversal? Don't know. big outside 5-minute candles at the highs. Ooh, ES had double outside candles. That's an outside. So do they break it and expand down and stop out these guys now? Or do they go back up? Because this is a baby broadening formation on a 1 minute time frame. And there it is. You got high, low, new high, new low. So the question is, what do they do from here? Do they go back up, or do we expand it to the downside and stop these guys out? Is the question, which we should find the answer to real soon.
Yeah, it will be interesting to kind of see how the rest of this overnight kind of shakes out. We have a few minutes here. Let's talk, or if we want to jump to my charts or my screen real quick, we can talk about the economic calendar. Since I know Sarah was talking about Monday being a slower day, but let's take a quick peek at what is on the docket for this week, any gotchas in the pre-market, and kind of the big events going into the upcoming trading week. As we had said earlier, it is end of quarter, end of month, so we will see some of that rebalancing, repositioning by larger institutions and larger traders out there. So something to watch out for. Tuesday afternoon is, that kind of weird, insane type of end of month move that we sometimes do get. That can pretty much be a complete, basically trade across the entire session's value at times. Like, you just get some of those weird, outlandish moves that you don't think should happen, but they do, with things like end of month flows and options positioning and things like that at the end of the session. So do watch out for that on Tuesday afternoon. But yeah, as Sarah was saying, Monday is a super light day as far as news and data. There really isn't anything outside of the Fed's world tour continuing, with Waller, Hammock, Mausoleum, Williams, and Bostic all having speaking engagements for tomorrow. So as always, anything and everything they do say can have those spastic moves throughout the trading session. So just be on your toes around those speeches and engagements. Looking into Tuesday, we do have jolts at 9 a.m. Central Time, so 10 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, jolts, job openings, and 50 minutes after the bell, we do have Chicago PMI. I'm reading this backwards, I just realized. And then we will have Goolsby and Logan as well, talking on Tuesday. Wednesday, 9 a.m., ISM manufacturing PMI. Thursday, super light, just initial jobless claims, and the Fed's Logan speaking. And then the main event for the week is going to be Friday. It is an NFP Friday week. So we will have non-farm payrolls at 7:30 Central Time in the pre-market, as well as the unemployment rate. So two things that everybody will be paying attention to. And then 30 minutes after the bell as well, we will have ISM services PMI. So just a few things that can stop you out of your trades if you are trading pre-market. But who doesn't love a good NFP week? Let's keep us all on our toes for the trading week ahead. NFP Fridays can be very chaotic. We'll see how real the data is this time as opposed to the other times when everything gets revised. So I don't know. I'm having a hard time even believing anything anymore with some of these data releases, but we just march forward as traders. We just wait for the reaction from the algos and everybody that's important, and then we try to trade around it if you are a shorter time frame trader like me. But yeah, Sarah, any specific things? Do you have a favorite data release? I always ask the guests when we go through this. Do you have one that's like, oh, I love watching the reaction or trading around it? No?
I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know what any of them are. I just know when they are. I don't care what they are. I just need to know when they are.
No, I feel that. Yeah, I have a soft spot in my heart for the Michigan consumer sentiment, but like you, I really don't know what it is, how it's calculated, and who is actually surveyed in it. But it kind of just has always made me laugh because it's not the piece of data that you feel like should cause a velocity logic type event, but it still does randomly decide to have a very negative or positive reaction that just is kind of chaotic and insane. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, all I know is I don't want to be in it when it happens, and I'll try and get in something after it happens, after we take out, an important pivot high or pivot low. Other than that, I'm not really trading it.
I feel you. Yep. So that's the week ahead, guys. Let's see. We are coming into the top of the hour. Sarah, any last remarks? Anything from you?
No, just thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to the Strat community for showing up, and maybe we'll get Nick all stratificated, and maybe he'll start to learn the Strat a little bit and implement it with his order flow.
I think that's not the worst idea. I really do. I like kind of some of those things on the longer time frame. It might actually help me be a more confident swing trader, looking at some of the structure that you were showing and some of those like breaks of those like the weekly highs, monthly highs that you were kind of presenting out there. I feel like as a terrible swing trader at times, that's kind of a missing thing in my tool shed that I should be better at, because I identify them on the shorter time frame, but I don't necessarily have the confidence to actually take them because I'm so focused on the intraday trades. So
yeah, that used to be me. I'm still a work in progress on the swings, but yeah, when it's hard for a day trader to become a swing trader, even though the charts are so much easier and slower. Like, it really is easy, and it's just a matter of strengthening that swing muscle, which I did do this year. So I'm proud. That was good. Had some nice swings.
Yeah, it's my goal for 2026 is to have an account that's kind of solely focused on like swinging micros and just a few to kind of get a feel for it, like not building into like a full mini in theory, but just can I throw a little money around, let positions on over a longer time frame kind of play out and validate things I'm actually seeing, just to get more confident in that, yes, you can in fact do this. You are in fact identifying things that may happen and rotations that may occur. So that's my goal for the new year, is to start building into some micro swings.
I like it.
But chat, thank you all for hanging out with us on your Sunday evening. As always, the NinjaTrader crew will be back tomorrow morning bright and early to get you raring and ready to go for your trading week ahead. I think Pax will be leading the kind of pre-market, and then you will have I believe Tanya trading the open, followed by Stowe. And then to round us out in the afternoon, I will be back with Stowe himself to trade the close, bring you guys some much needed Monday afternoon entertainment and trades to kind of close out the Monday session. So as always, I appreciate everybody hanging out with us, being here to learn, to get prepped for the week ahead, and to have some laughs and be silly with me at times. So Sarah, thank you once again for joining me here Sunday evening. Will we get you back for another one of these? What do you think?
Oh yeah, I think I'm in the mix now.
I love it. So it was good to see you. Good to hang out. Good for you to be back on NNT Live. We've missed you. It's good to see you. Good to see your what opportunities you're kind of talking us through for the upcoming week. So thank you again for your time, chat. We once again really appreciate everybody being here, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Everyone have a great rest of your evening. Do something better than staring at charts the rest of your Sunday night. Go spend it with your loved ones. Go have some fun. Everybody be safe, and we will see you all back tomorrow morning. Cheers.
Bye, guys.